Joined with senior Congress leader Manish Tewari with us for this detailed talk regarding the Congress developments in Punjab. Sir, my first question to you is with a fresh development. Congress has rolled out a list of the star campaigners. They have put local MLA, sitting MLA Ravinder Amla Raja Vading into that, but not Manish Tewari. What is the reason?
Well, you should ask this question to those who have made the list. I have not made the list. I am in no position to answer this question. Those people who have made this list, you should ask them this question. In any case, insofar as I am concerned, I can be a star campaigner in Assam, I can be a star campaigner in West Bengal. But maybe the state from where I am a member of parliament, from where I have been a union minister, maybe those people who make these lists do not think that I have anything valuable to contribute.
Is it not surprising for you also that you are a member of parliament from an Anandpur Sahib seat and still not in the star campaigning list? Cabinet ministers are in the list, MLAs are in the list.
Well, I am not surprised. I would have been surprised if I would have been on the list. And the reasons for that are publicly known. There is nothing which is not known. So what would have been surprising is if I would have been on the list. What is not surprising is that I'm not on the list.
So this kind of behavior is already expected for you from the Congress party.
Well, what is expected or not expected is for them to answer. Insofar as I'm concerned, I have been a Congress worker for the past 40 years. I am not one of those congressmen whose brother contests as an independent and who's contesting from the Congress party, or whose son contests as an independent and who's contesting from the Congress party, or whose brother is contesting from another party and he's contesting from this party. I am a congressman who is wedded to the ideals or the founding idea of India on which this nation stands. And I continue to campaign every day in my constituency of Sri Anandpur Sahib. I do 10, 12, 15 meetings every day, and I would continue to work to ensure that those people who have got me elected to Parliament, I play my role in bringing them to the Assembly.
But sir, the way you have pointed out that Channi's brother is contesting independently, Rana Gurjeet's son is contesting independently. In fact, certain Congress sitting MLAs are contesting independently. But my question is, have the Congress not taken your consent while deciding all these things? Just because you are the senior member, you have proved your loyalty to the Congress party. That cannot be reminded to Congress.
Well, I did not take any names, and I am not in the business of taking names. Look, insofar as I am concerned, I believe in the syncretic ethos of Punjab. My father sacrificed his life for the cause of Punjab, Punjabi, Punjabiyat. I come from a family which is, my mother was a Jat Sikh, my father was a Hindu. I believe in the composite culture of Punjab. So I fight for certain values. I fight for certain ideals. I fight for the people of Punjab. And so therefore, these lists are frankly irrelevant from my point of view.
But somewhere down the line, in fact, they are also trying to underestimate your potential for the campaigning for Punjab.
Look, people don't become leaders by getting their names included in the list. Or lists don't make leaders. I was joking with somebody yesterday that some of those people who are in the list, even their family members would not vote on their asking. So therefore, these lists are completely irrelevant. I have been elected from a seat where the Khalsa Panth was consecrated. I am honored to represent that very, very sacred soil of Sri Anandpur Sahib, and all those who contributed to my victory in 2019. I am persevering, and I will continue to persevere and contribute to getting them elected. Insofar as the other issues are concerned, those issues are not something which sprung up yesterday. Those issues have been in the public domain now for the last over 20 months. And once the election campaign is over on the 20th of February, we will talk about that in more in detail.
And sir, how do you see that Congress day after another is doing disaster when the ticket allotted to the several members, new faces, sitting MLAs ignored, and in fact they started contesting independently. And in fact now Navjot Singh Sidhu says that High Command is wanting that kind of CM who actually dance on their own tunes. And even on the other side, Charanjit Singh Channi is also betting for the chief ministerial candidate. What all is happening in Punjab Congress just before assembly polls?
Well, you've asked a series of questions to which, frankly, I do not have answers, because the dramatis persona that you have named are themselves in the best position to answer these questions. Insofar as I am concerned, list or no list, as a congressman of 40 years of standing, as someone whose father sacrificed his life for Punjab, Punjabi, Punjabiyat, as someone who believes in the syncretic ethos of Punjab, in the unity of the Hindus and Sikhs, as a Hindu who represents the sacred soil of Sri Anandpur Sahib, where the Khalsa was consecrated, I would continue to do my very best, as I said earlier.
And sir, my last question is that the amount you are paying, that just because you have openly said during the Prime Minister's security breach that yes, it has happened, it is security lapses in the state government and this is the responsibility of state. And is this the way the Congress is trying to deal with this just because of that statement?
Look, you've asked a series of speculative questions. Insofar as I am concerned, whatever I said on the Prime Minister's security breach was something which I fundamentally believe in, because the Prime Minister for me is not an individual. The Prime Minister for me is an institution, and an institution must be respected. We can have political differences with anyone in the political firmament. I think there hasn't been a bigger opponent of Prime Minister Modi than Manish Tewari. I used to look after Gujarat between 2004 and 2009. But that does not mean that you disrespect the institution of the Prime Minister, right? So therefore, when I was in charge of Gujarat, we had very sharp differences with the BJP government, but we were never stopped from either touring the state or in doing whatever political activity we felt that we need to do. So therefore, there is a certain propriety and there is a certain decorum which should be observed.
Sir, yesterday Charanjit Singh Channi's nephew arrested by ED. Congress entirely said that it is a political arrest. Do you really believe that ED is working under the union government and they are trying to settle down the scores of the BJP in Punjab?
Look, let me tell you, any arrest or any coercive activity by any investigating agency, and this goes across party lines, which takes place on the cusp of an election, it lends itself to the interpretation that it is motivated by political vendetta. Ultimately, see, every case has to go to a court. Once the charge sheet is filed, it is for the court to adjudicate, and the facts would then speak for themselves. But as I earlier pointed out, that any activity against any individual which is coercive in nature, which is on the cusp of an election, lends itself to the interpretation that it is motivated by politics.
And sir, my last question is, tomorrow Rahul Gandhi is going to announce the chief ministerial candidate for Punjab. What is the Manish Tewari's opinion on that? Either Navjot Singh Sidhu or Charanjit Singh Channi. Who is the fit face for the Punjab for the Congress party?
Look, my opinion has been very clear right from day one. It is the prerogative of the elected MLAs to choose the chief minister. That is how a Westminster-style democracy functions. Insofar as to who will lead the campaign, that's a decision which falls squarely within the prerogative of the party.
But Congress High Command didn't consider when they selected Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi as a CM face after captain, just because Sunil Jakhar claims he got 42 votes of the MLAs, and despite getting a huge chunk of the votes, he was not appointed as a Chief Minister. So Congress High Command is ignoring and sidelining and brushing aside that democratic part of the Congress party.
Look, first of all, there is no Hindu or Sikh issue in Punjab. Right? If there would have been a Hindu or Sikh issue in Punjab, I wouldn't have been representing Sri Anandpur Sahib and Mohammad Sadiq wouldn't have been representing Faridkot. Anyone who tries to divide Punjab in terms of Hindus and Sikhs is the most anti-national person in my opinion. एक सुरजीत पात्र इज़ अ वेरी फेमस पोइट ऑफ पंजाब. उसका एक शेर है कि ਪਹਿਲਾ ਵਾਰਿਸ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੂੰ ਵੰਡਿਆ ਸੀ, ਹੁਣ ਸ਼ਿਵ ਕੁਮਾਰ ਦੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੈ, ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਜ਼ਖਮ ਭੁੱਲ ਗਏ ਹੋ, ਨਵਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਹੈ. So therefore Punjab has paid a very heavy price in blood, you know, for this sectarian and fundamentalist thought. So insofar as whether he was ignored or not ignored, that is a question which Mr. Jakhar can best answer. I am in no position to answer for him. Insofar as I am concerned, I am very clear that it is the prerogative of the party to decide as to who will lead the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking to Republic, sir. So, Mr. Manish Tewari has spoken on the multiple issues on the Congress party in the Punjab, and in fact, he also revealed that he is a loyalist for the Congress party from past 40 years, and he is not one of them whose brother or his son is contesting independently in Punjab, and he is in the party. Yes, please. Over to studio.